Love them or hate them, Sram AXS is here to stay. It's the electronic shifting of Sram, and there's some really great benefits of it. There's some quirks about it, there's some weaknesses. And in this video, I'm gonna give you 5 tips that will help enhance your experience with this shifting system. So here is Sram AXS. You know, it's no wires, and it's doing this. Just going through my gears. So this is the perfect application for it, a cross-country bike where you're shifting a lot. The first tip I have for you guys is to carry an extra battery. In fact, carry 2 extra batteries. So if there is one real big knock about Sram AXS is that it has batteries everywhere. A battery on the remote, a battery on the shifter system right here. And these are made very well, but they have a couple weaknesses. One is there's no fuel gauge on them. You can't tell whether they're full or empty. And the second is that it wakes up by you moving the bike. So there is a motion sensor that is powered by this battery. So it's always draining. And it has kind of an idle state. It has an active state. So, you know, if you don't use your bike for a year, this thing is draining. And if you drive to Lake Tahoe or something, the minute your car moves, it turns the system on and it's draining. And I think it has like 25 hours of awake time before this thing is depleted. So the fact that it's always draining means this is something you always have to check. They advise you to check before every ride. There's a green light or a red light if it's 80%, if it's 25% or above, or 20% and below. So very hokey system. And then they advise you to take this out and put a stub in whenever it's on the car or a long drive, so it doesn't drain. So big issues there, but you can forget all about that. All you have to do is carry an extra one of these that is fully charged. So if you happen to run out on the trail, which is rare, but it happens, then you have this on your pack. And in our group, we always have one, and it gets constant use because, you know, there's a lot of bikes in the garage, and some of them behave differently. Some have access and whatnot, but this is your fail-safe. Have this in your pack. It doesn't weigh that much. The other thing is this thing has a battery. It has a watch battery, you know, a 2032 watch battery, and after a couple years, it's gonna die. You know, especially if you use the bike a lot. This thing does not have a motion sensor, so it's only active when you're activating it. But after a couple years, it's gonna die, and it's gonna happen in the most unexpected moment because you were not expecting it. But then, boom, it's dead. And even if this is fully charged, it won't work. So, gotta carry one of these too. Another light thing, maybe tape them together or something. But can't stress this enough. It makes this system easy to live with once you have this 2 in your pack. The second piece of advice I have for you guys is, you know, the trigger system is evolving. You know, they're trying to redesign the way the trigger is actuated. Instead of the 2 push levers, is what they have now. They have 3 designs. So this is the first generation, which is a rocker, and then the next one looks more like two triggers, even though it's also rocking. And the third one is 2 buttons on the T-type transmission. And my tip for you guys is they're all cross-compatible with each other. So find the one that you prefer of the 3. You could pair it with your system, and then that's what you could use. Okay, third piece of advice is this thing has a feature called multi-shift. You know, normally when you're pedaling, it shifts. Every press is one shift, okay? But it does have a feature that it goes auto shift, multi-shifting, right? But fate should have it, it's turned off by default. Because of that, I think 90% of the users out there will never know about this feature, will never turn it on. And I find it to be very useful. You know, now it truly has an advantage over, you know, the old system, the cable system, or the Shimano multi-shifts, where you can get 3 at a time. You can grab all of them at a time. I think the reason why they don't turn it on is because it requires a little bit of experience. You know, you could really jam up your motor, your gear, your derailleur if you're not spinning. But if you are an experienced rider, you know to spin. You know not to do that if you're not pedaling or have enough cadence. So turn it on using the app, and then you can have it. You can also turn it off. Okay, the fourth piece of advice I have for you guys is pursue with vengeance the SRAM T-type transmission AXS. This is the newest version of AXS, and it's T-type, which is the completely redesigned, way more robust derailleur system and different button. The button, like I said, you might not care for, but really they've mastered the shifting system, and what they've done is they've made it more robust and they slow the shifting down. You know, that way it can take load, it can take pressure. You know, this thing is actually not good for e-bike because it's too fast, it's too snappy, and when you have 600 watts of load on your chain, you know, it can just blow up the system. T-type, what it does is, you know, it knows where it is and the shift, you know, how fast the cadence is, and it's slower and more deliberate with the shift, so you can shift under power. Okay, the last piece of advice I have for you guys is how to trim it. You know, so if you don't have the system yet, maybe you're concerned about, man, I don't have the barrel adjuster. How do I do it? It definitely is concerning because it's a new system you have to relearn. The good news is the learning is not that hard. So there's a button here at the bottom, and you know, if you're not shifting to the lower gear enough, if it's making a sound, what you do is you press the button and then shift down. Every press you do is a fraction of a millimeter towards that destination. So, you know, boom, 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 and then you can shift. So it's an easy enough to understand system. You just gotta practice and remember it, so you know how to do it when you're in a pinch. The other thing is the app also has a micro adjustment feature that you could do with your finger if you're good with apps and whatnot. 5 tips on how to make your life with AXS more enjoyable. Thanks a ton, everybody.